Joining us right now from the city of Philadelphia, he's part of Ike, Spike, and Fritz in the afternoon there in WIP. It is Jack Fritz. Jack, thanks for joining us. And the first question I have for is, what is the talk there in the city about more? What's going to happen tomorrow with the Dodgers, or what's going on with the Eagles right now?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So early in the week, it was dominated by A.J. Brown conversation and wondering if we have a situation here with the receiver and coaches or quarterback. Who knows? But certainly right now, this city is geeked up about Red October, and I think most of the attention is tomorrow night at 6:38 against the Dodgers.
Can you do a favor for all of us here in Colorado, all of us in the West Coast that despise the Los Angeles Dodgers? Can you just put some good vibes out there and take the negative Philadelphia, Philly, and Eagle fan and make him a little bit optimistic about their chances against the Dodgers? That would be great for all of us, and we would appreciate that.
Yeah, listen, I think the city feels really confident in this team. Last year, heading into the postseason was a totally different feel. You know, they collapsed in the second half of the year. They backed their way into the postseason. This year, they are riding high heading into the postseason. It really feels like these are the two best teams in baseball. Unfortunately for us, it happens to be in the NLDS, not in the NLCS or in the World Series. But I think the Phillies, they've kind of been building for this moment. It could be this core's last run together, and I think that they're ready to meet the moment. So it's going to be tough. I mean, the Dodgers are ridiculous, and unfortunately, they snapped out of what seemed like a season-long malaise in the last, 20-some games. I think they won 9 of 11 to end the year. Destroyed the Reds, which is essentially an FCS opponent. So people are excited, but I think there's a proper amount of respect for this Dodgers team and what they can do.
Jack, speaking of the Philadelphia sports fan, just generally speaking, not an easy fan base to please, and you have the privilege of being able to communicate with them on a daily basis there on WIP. Tell us what the feel is right now with your 4-0 reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, and what the mood is around how this team has won and maybe some of the deficiencies that are out there on paper.
Yeah, I know it sounds insane. They've won, 20 of 21 with Jalen Hurts as the starter. They've won a Super Bowl in pretty convincing fashion over a team going for a three-peat, and people are frustrated. I mean, people are annoyed with the offense, and you look at the stats on offense, and it backs up what we've been seeing for a team that has a $55 million quarterback, $60 million in receivers, $100 million offensive line. They gave the running back a $35 million raise in the offseason. For this offense to be as pedestrian as they are is currently causing a lot of frustration. I think mostly frustration from the standpoint of, we should be flying high. You kept some continuity within the building by not hiring an outside offensive coordinator. This is a core offensively that's been together for a while. We're not sure what the excuse really is. And when we're evaluating whether or not this team can win a Super Bowl, with the way that this offense is currently going at it, I don't think that anyone feels like that they are good enough to win a Super Bowl. So I think on Sunday when they win the game, people are happy they win, but by Tuesday or Wednesday, they kind of take a step back and say, I'm not sure this is right.
What was the consensus on the A.J. Brown conversation? Because, when it happened, that's probably not ideal to send those kind of tweets out. But then he seemed to own up to it this week. What was that? So what did the conversation end up being around A.J. Brown?
Yeah, so it's actually a double-edged sword. I think every fan understands why he's frustrated. This is a guy who by his own admission, believes he's a top 5 receiver in all of football. Thinks he's the third best receiver in football behind Jefferson and Chase. And for the last 21 games, he's essentially been turned into a blocking receiver where, the Eagles run the ball a lot, and Saquon Barkley and he was a good soldier last year because the team was winning all the time, but this is someone who has a lot of pride in what he does, and he feels like he can dominate a game in the way that Saquon Barkley can dominate a game, and he doesn't feel like he is being used the way that he feels like he can be. So I think on one hand, fans were like, I get it. I would be frustrated too if I was A.J. Brown, because the reality is he's 28. Yes, he has a Super Bowl. Yes, he has all pros. Now it's the time where he has to be putting together a Hall of Fame resume. And with the way it's currently going, I think he still will have a chance, but he is a Hall of Fame talent that has had to put it by the wayside because of the Eagles turning more into a running team rather than a throwing team. So I think on one hand, fans get it, but on the other hand, there's also fans that are like, dude, we're 4-0. It certainly could be a lot worse. He came from Tennessee. It could be a lot worse. And I think people just don't want to. I think a lot of people just don't want to ruffle the feathers and have any problems even with them winning games, because you can go all the way back to 04-05 with T.O., sure, but you could also go back to 23 when something fell off the entire year, and then they ended up losing 6-7 to end the year and getting blown out by the Bucs. So I think that there's a healthy amount of fear of something happening like that again.
We're joined on the Ramoslaw hotline by WIP 94 out of Philadelphia. This is Jack Fritz. Jack, I'm curious to know, from an offensive coordinator standpoint, Nick Sirianni has had a ton of turnover, and it's been a kind of a mixed bag of unbelievably good with Shane Steichen, really bad with Brian Johnson, unbelievably good with Kellen Moore, and then now Kevin Patullo. He finds himself in that position without really having had his own room at any point in his coaching career. I mean, he's 44 years old, and I look at his bio and I see a lot of graduate assistant wide receiver coach. I guess he was a wide receiver coach for a couple of years in the Colts, and then he had all these weird titles like pass game specialist, pass game coordinator, and then this year's the first time where he's in charge of something. What do you see from this offense, and does it seem like either a rerun of a Brian Johnson offense, or does it seem like he is trending in the direction of a Kellen Moore?
Oh, it's Brian Johnson 2.0. It's not even close. He has been Sirianni's right-hand man for a long time, and I think Sirianni felt like off of the Super Bowl was the appropriate time to give his buddy a shot. I struggled to put it all on Kevin Patullo, because I know you said that Kellen Moore was unbelievable last year.
Yeah, no, you're right.
They've kind of been stuck in quicksand a little bit offensively ever since Steichen left in 22, where the passing game hasn't really ever, in my opinion, looked right. It looks great in the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. Awesome. But for the lion's share of the last 2, even 3 seasons, the passing game has not been where you wanted it to be, and that might be a quarterback problem rather than an offensive coordinator problem. But at the same time, a lot of the experts that we bring on, the people that break down tape, it seems like the receivers are running the same routes over and over again. There's no creativity from that standpoint. There's a lot of tells, like when they're in shotgun or whatever, the amount of times that they're going to run the football. So they seem very, very predictable, and that's an indictment of the offensive coordinator. Kellen Moore is definitely an upgrade, and I think if we look back on the season and they don't end in the Super Bowl, and it's because the offense never really figures it out, we're going to look back at the Kevin Patullo hiring, which they didn't even interview anyone for the job. It was just Kevin Patullo. And we're going to look back on that decision as to what could have been this team's shortcoming.
Well, Jack, thanks for giving us a little bit of your time and talking a little Philadelphia sports. Good luck to the Phillies, and we'll see about the Eagles. Thanks for giving us a little bit of time, Jack.
Of course. Good luck this weekend.
Yeah, that's Jack Fritz from Ike, Spike, and Fritz in the afternoon there on WIP, breaking down this Broncos-Phillies game.